All right, we are live. I am live with my good friend Kyle Kramer, and because he's busy figuring out how to share this on social media, I'm going to just take this opportunity to welcome all of you here and thank you for spending your Friday afternoon, Facebook Friday, with me. I've been looking forward to this Facebook Live for a long time because Kyle is not only one of our older users of ResponsiBid. He's been around since the very early days, but also he's become a very good friend over the years. Getting to know him and his dad, Jack. And I mean, I can tell you all sorts of stories. There's a ton of cool backstory there. But for your purposes, instead of me reminiscing over all of my cool stories, I just want you to know who you're talking to. Kyle Kramer is the co-owner of A Brilliant Solution in New Jersey. They are a pressure washing company. They are a holiday light company. They have grown so much over the years. And I know Kyle came on with his dad, Jack. Kyle, did you come on in the very, very first days with Jack? Or like, have you guys been partners since day one? Or was it later?
No, it was later on.
Okay. As I recall, yeah, I was going to say, it seemed like you were like a kid when I first met you, like not grown up at all. And then at some point, I guess your dad's like, hey, I'm going to let you in on this business. And we'll get to that. I'm going to cover that. But what I want to make sure everyone knows right now is that Kyle's not just figuring things out right now. I mean, every entrepreneur is figuring it out as they go. But I'm saying this is not his first rodeo. If you were to see their warehouse, and I'm sure Jack would be with us right now, but he is busy driving around his Cobra at probably maximum speed. Total car guy. These guys have figured out how to grow a business and how to have some fun along the way. So, Kyle, thank you for joining me for Facebook Friday, where we talk about I don't know if you see the subject line here, but I titled this Kyle the Closer Kramer.
I did not see it. I see it now, though.
So, Kyle, we're going to be talking about you closing stuff in your sleep. Can you give us a little bit of background about how you came to be in the industry?
Yeah, so I was kind of born into it. I didn't really have a choice. But my father was actually in IT. And he actually really wanted to open up a car washing business, and he stumbled across power washing. And I think like as he was found out power washing, there was a PWNA show like literally the next day, and he bought a ticket, and that's how kind of he got into the power washing world. And then he had the business obviously, and I was working weekends with him, and I started when I was 12 years old. I loved it. I always loved it. And then he kind of got out of the business, and then we both kind of got back into the business around 2010, 2011. But yeah, it's kind of the only thing I know. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
Well, you know what? You know it well enough that it's a good thing. One thing I need to bring up right now is that I live out in the middle of nowhere, and Kyle is a good enough friend. He knows that I am a milkshake connoisseur. And as I'm getting ready to come on Facebook Live, someone drives up to my house, which that's like, normally we come out with shotguns and just start shooting because like no one should be here, right? But I'm like, what is going on? He comes out, he has a single milkshake in his hand. And he's like, did you order a milkshake? And I'm like, no. He's like, this is for a Kyle K. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I have a vanilla milkshake. I've already started it because I just could not help myself. But this is the biggest milkshake in the history of all milkshakes. I think that Kyle, when he ordered it, he said, I need a quadruple XL. And they delivered. So as we go, you're going to see me sipping a little bit here, but this is just that classy Kyle way of doing things. So when you say it's all you know, I want to just point out you're an experience creator. You create and that actually does tie a lot into what we're doing today, because you know, today's customers, actually any customer, not just today's customers, all through the ages, anyone buying is going through a process of knowing, liking, trusting, understanding, moving from research mode to discovery mode to actual decision mode. And all of these things play in to it. But as you were growing your business, there was like an owner operator sort of phase where you are out doing all of the work. And, you know, we find that a lot of people in that phase, they feel really burdened. There's a lot going on. And they use ResponsiBid for certain reasons. in that phase. Those reasons start to change, and you're just talking about hiring a new office manager 3 weeks ago, and this is a totally different phase that you're in, where you have to train someone to manage multiple crews as far as scheduling work for them and all that. I know you guys also use a call answering service, Jill's office. So can you kind of walk me through sort of what you see as the different stages of growth to where systematizing your sales process became more and more important? And then we'll talk about kind of the specifics of where you're at right now.
Yeah. So obviously, owner operator, you're doing everything. Phone calls, you're literally like getting off the ladder, you're answering your phone, you're like, hello, Brilliant Solution, how can I help you? And they're like, oh, can you get this? And you're like, you're running to the truck, writing down all their information. Now we have iPhones though, which is kind of cool. And we can just, put it in the notes in our phone, which make it easier. But there's another tool even better. I don't know if you know what it is, Curt. It's called ResponsiBid.
No. But what other tool could it be?
But no, it's just, at first when you're doing everything, it's super overwhelming. You're doing your own marketing. I mean, it's literally 24/7 your business. And then I think I was lucky because my father was off the truck and kind of doing the office and the estimates, and I was doing all the work. And everyone always asks, like, how can you guys work together, your father and son? But we work so great together. We really do. He's awesome. I think I'm awesome, but we get along great. But I mean, I think I was really fortunate and lucky for that part, because I technically didn't have to do everything myself because I did have him. And so he was kind of the office and I was kind of everything outside the office, right? And we both kind of always been the two that give estimates. If I was doing a job and he's like, Kyle, you're over here, give this estimate, I could always do that. But there was a point in time where I said, well, I have to get off the track, right? Like, I want to grow this business, and Jack has to retire at some point. So, that's the other thing too. Everyone's like, wow, look how disrespectful this kid is. He's calling his dad by his first name. But
or grandpa. You always call him you call him grandpa because he's got, for those who don't know, Jack, very white hair. He's looked old since he was young. Like, I'm assuming all of his baby pictures are a picture of like this balding, white-haired guy because he's just.
No, anyway. Not only. Jack used to have really long hair, but I do call him by his first name only for business purposes, because it's like, oh yeah, let me call my daddy real quick and see what the best price would be on your house. Like, nah, I don't know. It just sounds.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
We call him Jack, and he's and he's like not offended by it at all. So I just don't like to, in case someone thinks I'm being offensive. But I had to get off the truck, and I think the first step for that was hiring someone to answer phone calls. So the first step was Jill's office. Actually, I'll never forget it. It was right around June 1st, because I went to this country concert every year. My dad was like, Kyle, I'm not answering the phones anymore. I said, I'll do it. And I did it for like 2 weeks, and I was going away for a country concert, and I was like, what am I going to do when I go to this concert? Like, I'm going to have to answer all these phones. I'm going to have a horrible time. I'm not going to be able to enjoy the concert. So I hired Jill's office. And so having someone answer the phones and doing that was huge. And then it really kind of goes into the same concept of hiring a VA and stuff like that as well. I think that was something that really helped me in my business. And obviously ResponsiBid and everything else and all the systems and tools that you purchase, like they're so good for your business.
What CRM do you guys use with ResponsiBid?
We use Jobber.
Okay. So in that first phase of business, which that stage, it's kind of like, I'm doing all the work and like all my eggs are in one basket. I'm trying my hardest to make these massive leaps, which is to trust somebody else answering your phone, or to have a helper go out on the job all by themselves the first time or something. Like, those are like these massive leaps. I always think the middle size is when you're out doing the sales, but you're like sort of visiting the job sites, or like you got a really tight handle on, like, still kind of intimately aware of each individual customer. And then it gets to a point where you don't even know who all your customers are. You can't possibly. What phase would you say that you're in right now?
So right now we're trying to hire a sales manager, but our first salesperson right now, and it's a very hard hire. I think we've done a lot of interviews and we've found the perfect person, but I would say I know most of my clients, but there's a lot I don't, because there's a lot of estimates that just come right through the office. They give a price and the guys do it and I never see it. And I would say up until 2 years ago, I saw every single job we did, like whether I did it myself or I showed up with the guys or I showed up for the estimate, because we used to do almost everything was an in-person quote. But as we grew, it just wasn't feasible. So we did do most of our quotes right now are just over the phone if we can. Clients sending in pictures of decks and fences and stuff like that. If they can't know the size. Same thing with patios.
How do you, like New Jersey, it's like in Arizona, it's very common for houses to be cookie cutter. Like you can be a little off and get it right over the grand scheme of things. But New Jersey, it seems like you got a lot of old houses and you got a lot of new houses and they're all mixed together. How do you get it right?
So we go off the square footage of the house and we kind of do the law of averages, right? So some houses are going to be a little higher than they should and some houses are going to be a little less than they should. But it's really not going to affect you that much. But then the real thing that's really hard for us are decks and fences and patios. I mean, you can have paper patios that are bigger than the footprint of the house. And unfortunately in Jersey, I mean, listen, Curt, I saw your Google Maps when I delivered that milkshake and it was like, I could see, like, I think I saw you walking out in your boxers in the backyard.
Yeah. They have a live view. There's a live view on my house.
But in Jersey, we have all these trees. We can't see anything. So, like, you pull up a Google Maps, you're trying to find square footage or, try to, like, zoom in. You can't. So, unfortunately, a lot of times we do have to go out to give an estimate.
Yeah. Well, I know I was at Jill's office one time just seeing how their operation worked. And, I just happened to be walking behind a Jill and they're like, yeah, you can't be on the floor because of HIPAA rules. You can't be hearing conversations being had. And I'm like, oh man. And right as I'm walking by, I hear like Brilliant Solutions. This is Jill speaking. And I'm like, what? No. I'm allowed to listen to this one. So I remember listening in and she gave a quote over the phone and it was like really cool to like watch it happening in real time. So anyway, I know that you've been doing it for a while. But I just think that people are like, oh, I don't know if I could ever quote something sight unseen. And I'm like, dude, people in New Jersey are doing it.
Yeah.
It's possible.
100%. And that's the thing. Like people are like, well, people are gonna lie about their house sizes. Between Zillow and Realtor.com and we actually go off the tax records, right, for the county. The tax records don't lie. Like they want their tax money. Like they're going to be updated. So
and in New Jersey, they love their property taxes.
Exactly. So just going off the tax records is a simple solution for us for that.
Okay. All right. Well, tell me a little bit about one we want to cover today is closing jobs in your sleep. Okay. So I want to talk just a minute about what does that mean to you? What is that statement of closing jobs in your sleep? I mean, there's stuff coming from your website. There's quotes that you gave yesterday that the proposal has been followed up with and sent out, and they can, do it then. Kind of help me understand what that phrase means to you so we can dig a little deeper into that.
It's like that phrase is like a loaded question, right? Like it means so much. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, so someone just fills out a little thing on your website and you have to call them. No, that literally means I have to do nothing. So they fill out the form on my website and they get a price, right away, instantly. In today's world where everyone wants to buy something right away, they get it instantly. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we have follow-up emails, text messages, neighbor mailings, email reminders for the office to give them a call to see if they still have their quote. Like, oh my gosh, like you just like it's mind-blowing how much it is. Like old Kyle was in a car typing up an estimate and printing it out because that was the coolest thing in the world, right? Giving it to them and then never hearing from me again.
Well, that's because you're so overloaded. That's that stage one where you're just like wearing all the hats.
Yeah,
you're trying to do a good job, obviously, but yeah. So obviously there's people on your website that fill a thing out and that thing, being ResponsiBid gets an accurate quote and they can take action on that quote. Then you have people who call in, and you just talked about hiring Jessica, like you said, it's like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's our 4th week.
So give me the idea of what is it like to train someone who came from, we don't want to like give all Jessica's like let's not like give her address and social security number and everything, but like she did not come from this background.
No,
right?
she didn't, not at all. But first of all, this is a secret I learned from Melody Edwards. All right.
Oh.
Because I got my VA through Melody too. And Melody's like, I was like, how am I going to train someone on ResponsiBid? And she's like, ResponsiBid has all those training videos, Kyle. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is the easiest thing in the world. She goes, yeah, you literally just have them watch the videos, you tell them nothing, and they're good. And I'm like, really? And so literally their first like couple of days are just doing all the training videos, ResponsiBid, job, or whatever, other things we have. Send Jim, stuff like that. So, so my portion of training Jessica in ResponsiBid was your videos.
Well, I'm glad I could help. That's great.
So, and then after that, then it's just going over our call scripts, right? And maybe a half day worth of like, me pretending to be a customer and her answering the phone, and not even a half day, to be honest. But that was it. Like, that's how easy it was. Like, everyone thinks it's like so much more like than that, but it's not. It's like, and they end up knowing ResponsiBid and Jobber way better than me. Like, I remember even with my VA April, I remember like, hey, can you show me how you do this? And because I wanted to see if she was doing it right. And then she was in a whole different screen. I'm like, wait, what is that? I don't even know what that is.
She's like, yeah, this is the newer screen that you've been using the old screen. So with someone that's being hired from a totally different background, and they learn the system, they learn how to ask the specs. It's like they don't need to know. And then there's the scheduling side. It's like a lot of this stuff we think is an art. Like a lot of people are like, I could never hand over my pricing to a new office manager because an office manager, not only are they not qualified, but I have all this experience that would lead me to ask this other question or make it a little more complicated. And the fact is that friction that you remove from the sales process, it translates on both sides. It translates on the business side, quicker and easier getting out pricing, and it's quicker and easier for the customer to receive pricing. So within about a week's time, like where would you say Jessica's at? And like I'm saying after week 1, where would you say she's at in terms of like percentage of knowing how to do this stuff?
I would say after week 1, she was 99.5% done. Wow. Like all the scheduling, everything. There was just that 0.5% is those 0.5% questions you get like once a week. It's like, what? Why would they even ask that?
Yeah.
They're just like one-offs, right? It's something you can't train for, and as time goes, maybe next year she'll get them. But
yeah, like my George Washington helped build this house, and I'm trying to figure out how to like.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we're gonna need to talk about that one.
Or it's the customer making it harder than it actually is.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, it's quite a rite of passage, in my opinion, as you move from stage to stage in the business, of that early stage all the way up to like sort of now where you're really starting to blossom into a much, I'll just say bigger, but more mature business. It's this period of time where you used to pride yourself on how intricate and custom every interaction was. And then you realize that that's like the killer. And now you've got this person that within a week is able to do something that you used to like painstakingly like mess up. And now you allow customers on the website to get a quote?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's several avenues that a customer who's wanting to get a quote can get a quote. They can call in during hours, and I would assume that's when they're going to talk to Jessica, right?
Yep, or Jill's office.
Okay, and if Jessica's busy, it'll go to Jill's office. If they call in after hours, does it go to Jill's office?
Yep.
Okay, and then if they don't want to talk to a person, they go on the website, you make the quoting portion available to them on the website. I'm assuming you lock out some of the more complicated stuff so that pricing doesn't fly through on.
Correct.
On yeah. And then obviously we have, it's Easter holiday weekend right now. It's Good Friday. So some people are going to be having family coming and they're like super emergency. And I'm assuming that you've probably run into your share of that already. Like how does I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, what does your life look like? I mean, you can be closing jobs in your sleep while Jessica or Jill's office or your website or your follow-up emails, they're all closing jobs. Like,
You missed one more.
oh, what's one more?
The guys have ResponsiBid on their phone. So when they're doing a house wash and the neighbor wants it done, they can do it too.
There you go. There you go. What percentage of new jobs do you say come in that way?
I would say when we're in the heat of the season, we probably at least get 3 to 4 estimates a week just by the guys doing a neighbor's house.
Okay. So it's
Which isn't crazy, but we get more calls off seeing the trucks at a neighbor's house. People don't want to stop the guys, really.
Yeah.
You get the nosy neighbors that want to stop the guys and be like, "Hey, I want an estimate too," but most of them call in.
It's not nothing, that's for sure.
No, it's not.
And what's really cool about that is they're there. Your employees are there doing a wash, and the neighbor comes over. There's this cool in-person rapport that can naturally happen with no additional fuel costs or time. And you know that everything's getting counted up accurately. I mean, dang, that's a good win.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't have to get the estimate.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of where I'm headed here is when we talk about closing jobs in your sleep, you're closing jobs from many different angles. I think people say, oh, ResponsiBid is the online bidding software. That's how you close jobs in your sleep. Sure. That's one of the things I've said. But what channel would you say is the busiest channel for you guys?
Like receiving leads through?
Yeah, like calls, website, neighbors.
Definitely calls.
Calls? Okay. Yeah. So is it very unusual then? I guess in this season, is it unusual for it to roll over to Jill's office when Jessica can't get to everything?
Yeah, because we get a lot of calls on the weekend and after hours. A lot. I mean, we do get a lot during the business hours too, but we get a lot of after hours too. And honestly, we get a lot off the website after 8 p.m. Like if there's something after 8 p.m., they won't call. They'll just do a web form online and they'll get a bid right away, as long as it's within reason.
Yeah, yeah. So what does that look like for you, man? Like, what does it look like? I'm assuming you were just talking about putting, you know.
I remember I have a 2-year-old daughter, as you know, and the other day I was literally putting her to sleep. I was reading her book and hearing cling, cling, and I'm like, there were 2 fast ones within like 30 seconds. I'm like, ooh, I think I know what that was. I don't like to have a phone in front of Holly, so that's Holly's my daughter. So I put Holly to bed faster than usual because I wanted to check it, and it said, "Oh, ResponsiBid," and then it said ResponsiBid went pending, which means I closed the job. So I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
That is cool, and that's sort of what I had envisioned when we created this. I was talking about returning husbands to wives and fathers to children. Like that was one of the big things that I really wanted to see happen. And these are the kind of stories that I thrived on when I had my cleaning business and I started like realizing, remember when I started sponsoring, I'm going to date myself here, but like eBay, going on to eBay and buying something from somebody else in the world, like that was crazy. And then Amazon came around and it was like, not just books, you could order basically anything you want. And I remember thinking, this is what's going to happen. And so in my mind, it was called productizing service. How can I make services as easy to buy as a product? And a lot of it is that it's custom and you have to know what the property's like, and there's drive considerations and there's capacity situations. It's not like, I mean, obviously products you have to worry about how much you have in stock, but if you just kind of keep ordering stuff about as fast as you sell it, you kind of just don't have to worry a ton about that. And there's all these things that you have to consider for services. And then there's also the buying cycle where someone who's interested in buying, you know, I don't know, a shoe, they may painstakingly, you know, think about it, but it doesn't really affect you. But if it's like, I don't know, should I get my house to, you know, and they keep calling you and asking a bunch of questions about, you know, will my plants get killed? Okay, hang on. Then, just one other question. You know, what's your insurance like, and what's your bond? Are you bonded? And you know, can you do it on weekends because I'll only have, you know, like all these things. And I was like, gosh, this is just such a hard thing. How are we ever going to do it? And here we are. Like it's happening. You know, you're getting these notifications, and it's productized. Like you're selling services as easily as people buy products.
You said something else too. You said something with insurance. That's another cool thing with ResponsiBid, because when I'm giving their proposal, one of the bottom links I have is my insurance. Like, I'm not hiding my insurance, right? I want everyone to know that I have insurance. And in today's age, it's so important because there's so many people that it's not that they don't have insurance, they're underinsured, like by a long shot. I remember there was a competitor of mine that had like, I was like, dude, insurance is killing me. Like, our insurance has doubled since 4 years ago. And he goes, really? He goes, I pay like $1,700 the entire year. I'm like, what? I was like, dude, I'm like, I'm substantially higher than that. Like, I'm not even close. And it's like his max out of pocket for a claim was like $5,000. I'm like, dude, what is that going to get them? A burger? Like, come on.
Yeah. So I'm not going to ask names because we know we run around in the same circles, but we're on a live thing here. But obviously that business owner is super exposed. But you're exposing in the other way. Like, you're turning your insurance into a marketing expense. You're putting it on your proposal. That's another really important thing, is to systematize, because when you were doing everything in that first stage and everything was sort of like a custom, very tightly handheld, redone every time, more likely than not, you wouldn't have included something like that, because it would just be one more thing to do. You wouldn't do it. But now you've turned it into part of the project.
Maybe like a 10% of your customers ask for, a certificate of insurance. Well, it's one less thing I have to do, right? It's automated. It's done. It's up there.
Okay. So we've talked about closing jobs and all the different avenues. One of the things that we just started doing for people, and I know for you it's not that big a deal because
it is.
We just rolled out yesterday this cool thing where we can turn your ResponsiBid form and your proposal into your brand identity. We can actually color it to your brand identity, make a few tweaks on it. I know one of the things that people use ResponsiBid for is it's just a neutral form that looks like it's embedded on your site. The proposal is just this sort of attractive but neutral format. And people have been asking for years and years, like, hey, how can I customize this? And we did turn on like the ability for you to like inject your own HTML and stuff. And people who are really HTML savvy could do things, but it was time consuming and you had to worry about keeping it up to date if any CSS changes broke on the internet or whatever. But we just recently rolled out yesterday that you could actually come in and just tell us what your colors are. Let us look at your website. And we actually have a designer who will customize this for you. Well, we did it for you as a cool thing of being on here. And when we looked at your Brilliant Solutions brand color guide and everything, yeah, look a little higher and look at the ResponsiBid color. It's truly like the same color palette. So we did do a few tweaks and we made it a little bit more Brilliant Solutions. But that kind of goes in line too with like the idea of, functionally ResponsiBid can do things, but like your insurance, there's also like, there's a form and a function that goes with it. And it sort of bonds people to your company, that they can trust you and that you're their entity. And so we're trying to give you, and it's been fun to see people hopping on board and taking care of, getting their company branded out more. What kinds of things, aside from colors and other things, what do people associate with the Brilliant Solutions brand in terms of customer service or like, you talk about insurance and like being reliable that way. What sorts of things do you as a brand think about when you're putting stuff in front of a customer?
It's just our, like, a customer can call us at any point in time and someone will answer the phone, like Jill's office, in the office or not, but it's our communication, right? Like, and a lot of it is some stuff we do, but a lot of it's automated with ResponsiBid. It's constantly following up with emails, phone calls, even like the automation of after a job is closed, it's constantly reaching out to the customer saying, hey, if you ever need anything, let me know. So just always being in front of them, always helping we're in a service where we're helping people keep their most valuable asset clean, right? Like their house. Like everyone washes their car all the time, right? Oh, big deal. But their house is actually appreciating while their car is depreciating in value. So,
yeah.
We're literally washing their biggest asset, right? So just being able to help them do that is super awesome. But also, like we really care about our customers. Like it was so funny. Jessica was in the office before, and a customer had called me, and I'm like, "You're a Villanova boy, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's right." And Jessica's like, "How did you remember that?" And I didn't tell her, but because I wanted her to think like I'm super smart. But it was actually in the notes in ResponsiBid.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, but it's like certain things like that like that guy was like, "Dude, I can't believe you remembered me. That's awesome." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I would never forget."
Well, everyone talks about being good communicators. Everyone talks about caring about their customers. And you can market that because you think it's true. But I will tell you, as a guy who's called around to service providers, answering the phone, so rare. But you've systematized it so it happens. And I'm telling you, I'm not even kidding you. We get people who call in for a demo of ResponsiBid, or I'll have a customer I'm trying to get in touch with because I can see something happened on their website that's not right, and I just want to follow up with them and let them know that I found something for them. I would bet you that 95 times out of 100, I will go to voicemail. Like, I can almost guarantee right now, we'll go to Google. I'll type in any old pressure washer coming. I almost guarantee you they won't answer their phone, especially this time of year. No way. And that's the difference in the marketing of, I say I'm going to pick up my phone, and when I call, you actually do pick up your phone. Those are two totally different things. And one of them says, I'll do it, and then I show you I don't. Well, now I have to worry about every other promise you've made me, right? You said that you would answer your phone just like you said you're insured. You said you would answer your phone just like you said you'd show up on time. You said you're on your phone just like you said you background check all your employees that you're sending my property. Like, the phone is the most obvious giveaway as to whether you're a promise keeper or breaker. So I think kudos to you for making sure that when you make a promise, you actually keep it. And then the other thing you said about caring about your customers, look, I get it. You might not remember if everyone's a Villanova boy or not. Like, that's maybe kind of hard to remember that about your customers. But once again, if you can give yourself these little touch points and you build that into your system so that you'll remember it, when you say, I never forget, what you're saying to them is I took enough, that was important enough to me that I put it in a place I wouldn't forget. And that's the fact. That is sending another signal to your customer that, like, I have built my business in a way that I will care for my customer. Everyone says they care about their customers. Whether you actually remember it off the top of your head or not is kind of irrelevant. Someone who says they care about their customers and then doesn't know something important about the job or whatever, they send another message. You say you care, but then again, the thing that was most important to me, that you said you would cover the bushes when you were here and you didn't. I know you don't care about your customers because you lie. You know what I mean?
No, 100%, 100%.
So these are all touch points. And I think that automation, people say, well, maybe it's not as personal. Or what if you train your customers to ignore you? Well, what's the alternative? What if you didn't say anything to them? What if you didn't train your customers to ignore you, but they never had anything to listen to? What if you said you would give people quotes and you'd send it over tonight, but you went and did all the work to collect all the information, and then you went to bed that night and basically told your customer, I want to make sure you wasted your time and stayed at home for me to come give you a quote, but I truly did just waste your time because you didn't get what you asked for. And I wasted my time too, and my gas. Like, those messages are crazy loud too.
So we have one of the steps in our ResponsiBid open status, right? So when a customer gets an estimate, they automatically are an open, and that's after visit for bid technically. But when they're an open, 5 days after they receive the proposal the first time, Jessica or April get an email to follow up with a phone call from that person. And I can't tell you how many times they're like, we're just waiting for one more estimate. I'm like, it's been a week. They're obviously not interested, right? Like, come on, they're not interested. Move on.
And you guys ever role play that together? Because that actually is a really interesting role play training right there. That's really good.
So to be honest with you, we were doing follow-up phone calls, then we stopped. and now we brought it back again. But I told Jessica the other day, she was like, oh, I'm just following up, and I heard the guy say like, oh yeah, we're just waiting on one more. She goes, okay, just let us know. I'm like, no, next time be like, the guy had a whole week and he doesn't care about you. Like come on, like we came out right away, like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much value to build into that to say, I mean, I don't know how extreme I'd be that he doesn't care about you, but that's the message, right? So, well, that's interesting that I really hope that this guy's as tentative to your needs if you run into any issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's kind of, wow. You'd still take a quote from somebody, even if they promise you they get to you and they haven't gotten to you in a week. Well, here at Brilliant Solution, we believe that we take care of our customers quickly and efficiently. That's both when we're trying to get the job, and the same goes for if anything ever went wrong during the job. You want to make sure you're working with a company that's going to take care of you right away. You sure you don't want to get on the schedule right now?
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, you talked about it real quick, and I don't want to like talk so much shop that everyone's like, hey, I feel like I'm overhearing a personal conversation. But I knew you when I believe you're a high school student. I'm pretty sure that's when I first met you.
Yes.
And now you're the father of a 2-year-old girl. Your entrepreneur journey, I've been watching this whole thing play out. And I know there was even a stint of time where you're way too nice to be a cop, but like for a minute, like it was like you're thinking about being a cop. But here you are. What would be a piece of advice that you would give to your fellow entrepreneurs as somebody who has moved into running a business, trying to retire your dad, and since I've known you've gotten married, you've had a baby. What lessons along the way have you learned that you think every entrepreneur should know?
Honestly, I know everyone says it, but like one of the most important things really is to not step I want to say step out, but it's step out of like running your entire business. Like you have to hire people smarter than you. But that's not always going to happen, but finding people that, you can work with every day, and like Jessica, all my guys have been with me for a very long time. We have one guy with us since 2005. Wow. 2005.
20 years.
Renee, he's awesome. But it's just when you're doing everything yourself, it's way too overwhelming. It's never gonna last. I mean, I was forced to get out of my business because I had an injury that you know about. And I couldn't do anything. And it was probably the worst thing that happened to me, but it was the best thing that happened to me. Because at that time, I couldn't wash a house. I couldn't hang Christmas lights. I had to do something. And that's kind of when I let the guys do everything and focused more on the office. I always had ResponsiBid. I've had ResponsiBid forever, and sometimes I used it to its fullest potential, and most of the time I didn't early on. But, now I do. I swear I did. Well, actually, no, I don't have videos yet, but I'm working on it, Curt. I promise. I promise.
If only there was a conference that you could have gone to and recorded those videos and written those scripts.
I did. I have the videos.
Oh, you just haven't put them up?
No. Nope.
Oh,
but no, it's honest. Everyone says to step out, and I was forced to, and I would say I was unfortunate, but I was very fortunate because I had to. I had no choice. But you do have to step out. You're never going to be able to do it all yourself. Never.
So what I call that is you got to stop being the bottleneck of your business. If everything has to slow down to get past you at any point in the process, and I tell people this all the time too. If you were in a full body cast, you would figure out tomorrow how to move forward. And you kind of were, right? Like,
yeah.
and so I tell people, like, why are you waiting for the body cast? Like, what's wrong with fixing it now? And here's the other cool thing is in a body cast, you basically got to figure it out now, but you're also not probably in the best frame of mind. And those who are caring for you aren't in the best frame of mind. You could give yourself a whole entire month, like right now, just think about it and slowly deploy things. And that'll still be fast, but it would be in the right presence of mind. It would be in the right it'd be a good speed that you could do it. And here we are, we're getting into the busy season. And a lot of people are like, gosh, Kyle, Kurt, I don't want to talk about getting myself out of the way. I have to wake up every day and go to war. And I know exactly how that feels. It's a rough feeling, and it's a valid feeling. I want to make sure that you understand that too. Like, but that advice that you're giving, Kyle, it's one of those things where most people who see this are going to either have done what you say, or they're going to put it off some more. Like, that's kind of, no one will probably, I hope there's one, but no one will probably say, you know what, Kyle's right. That's great advice. I'm going to start getting out of the field. I'm going to start systematizing my business so that we have the layers necessary to make sure that everything works. Some people are saying it's too expensive. It's easy to say, but it's too expensive. But with tools like ResponsiBid or tools like an answering service, the fact is that you can pay fractional amounts of a person's salary. I mean, for $200 a month, you could have ResponsiBid doing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work every month for you. Period. For a couple $100, $300, $400 a month, you can have all your overflow calls handled that you can't get to for just, a few $100s. Now, you can hire a Jessica. And if you're big enough to have it, Jessica, you need a Jessica. You need an office manager. You need someone who can do it. VAs, you talked about Melody Edwards. There's VA services out there that do amazing things. You can find ways to fit into the budget what you actually need. I'm not going to take the advice that Kyle just gave as you need to grow to be Kyle's size business today, if you're not Kyle's size business. But I think the principle you were teaching, Kyle, is that whatever size you are, there's a good chance you're in the way of something. And you got to get out of the way.
I was the biggest micromanager. I know I was. My best friend worked with me when kind of my dad had the reins, and he was the worst worker in the world. Until he didn't work with me anymore. I was like, dude, he was such a great worker. What was I thinking? Right? Like, and we're still best friends. He was my best man in my wedding. I was his best man in his wedding. Like, we're still best friends. But I was a huge micromanager.
I don't know this for certain, but I think you and I know somebody who's even a more micromanager person than you are. I can't say his name, but there's this really analytical guy who tears everything apart into tiny little pieces. You know who I'm talking about? Anytime you feel like you're a micromanager, you can just ask yourself, am I? Maybe not as bad as you think, Kyle. Who knows?
That's fair.
That all said, I think our buddy has a little bit of OCD. And he puts together a great show. He
does. He really does. He cares. And we said that before the call. Remember, I said that, like, you just care so much about your business. And it's kind of, I guess you can put micromanaging and caring about your business too much in the same category in a way, right?
Yeah, they definitely are little brother. There's some sort of sibling relationship there for sure.
Yeah. So I really think that's what it comes down to, is caring too much. Well, but you're still caring when you step out, but you think you're doing everything, but you're not.
It's misdirection of care.
Correct.
We just redid our company values. Our core values have stayed essentially the same, but we didn't have organized right. And one of the things that stayed true with our last core values, and the one we're just rolling out right now internally, is we're a customer service company who happens to make software. Okay. And under that value, one of the things that we say is we care first about our customer by caring for our employees. And that's the care being properly, I think, directed. I found this in my cleaning company. When you put your care into your employees and you go from the conductor, micromanager, checking on everybody, making sure that, grabbing their hands and making them do the things, when you take that energy and you move it into cheerleader format, it actually it's more scalable, but it also has a much more powerful effect, because when you are grabbing the hands of somebody and trying to like literally pick up the tools, like, I know I'm being a little facetious here, but like when you're in that micromanager position, everyone that you can't micromanage is free to do whatever they want. When you move into the cheerleader position, there's a lot more of a scalability to that. And also it gives people that autonomy to feel that they can be trusted to do a good job. And you can spend your time training people to do a good job and following up on those things, but you can actually manage that. But the care will drive people to instinctively think, well, I got to go micromanage this. But if you take that care and understand it for what it is, you can direct it another way. And I think that's sort of the stage that you're moving into or have moved into. And I'm glad your friendship survived it, because it sounds like that could be a really taxing thing on a friendship.
No, it can be. You know, the other thing you said too, you were talking about ResponsiBid. It's $200 a month. After the second year of having ResponsiBid, Curt, the follow-up emails and just closed jobs saying, hey, we were here a year ago. Before ResponsiBid, I never had a newsletter. I never reached to customers that I used to have. But now with this tool, that automatically does it every year, for every year, every quarter, whatever you want to do, right? And it does it for as many times as you want, essentially.
Every year, a lot of businesses start rebuilding their business again. And that's why a lot of people will stay the same size. But what you're doing is you're onion skinning every year. Like you're picking up last year's people in automation. You're picking up 2 years ago people in automation. And that automation just keeps building layers on top of layers. And yeah, that's how snowballs grow. It's really good.
I remember the third year of using ResponsiBid, how many how many closed jobs I was just getting by my automatic email. It was astronomical. It's so normal to me that it's not cool anymore. That's
awesome.
It's so normal that it's not impressive to me at all, Curt. All right.
Well, you know what? That's good. That's
a normal part of my business. But I remember the third and fourth year of using ResponsiBid, I was like, what? This is insane. Yeah. But it's so normal to me now that it's not insane anymore.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your advice. You know, Kyle, it's always fun to talk to you. I love talking to you and Jack both. You guys are just awesome people. But for those of you that are listening, I think you do well to follow Kyle's advice, and that is to just get out of the way. And getting out of the way does not mean just standing aside. Getting out of the way means empowering and systematizing the parts of your business that are just getting way too slow because you're having to just do what only a human can do. Having watched Kyle sort of grow from a boy into a man, it's been an absolute pleasure to watch. But these are the kinds of things that, you know, you're going to continue to learn lessons as you go, Kyle. But what you're doing, this is the life. This is the dream, American dream. You know, you're an entrepreneur who turns dirty stuff into money. And I honestly couldn't be a better way to make a living. So thanks for joining me today on Facebook Friday. Thank you for the milkshake. I am going to have to go run, I don't know, 100 miles or something because of how big this thing is, but it absolutely is delicious. And so thank you so much for everyone who joined Facebook Friday. We're glad that you're able to watch. And if you are looking to run a business like Kyle Kramer, check out brilliantsolution.com, but don't drop a bunch of ResponsiBids on his website because he's got like real business going on right now. We have test sites for that. Hit us up at responsibid.com and we can take you through some test stuff if you want. But anyway, yeah, that's it. Kyle, have a great weekend, man. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Absolutely. Great time.
All right. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.